And we are live. What is up, people? The internet, it is me, Real American, back in with a new stream, and that is right. We are live on this beautiful August 12th, 2026. I hope everyone's having a great day. And yeah, I'm back, everybody. Hello. Big shout out to Tyrone, who's right here for watching over the stream. It went pretty good. And before we continue with the political stuff, I think it's fair to say that Tyrone, you've earned your own permanent show on this channel. We'll figure out the details later, but
Real American political extreme.
Yeah. But yeah, that was yeah, scheduling conflicts happen. You know, I couldn't show up and Tyrone took over and apparently went pretty good. So yeah, Tyrone, thank you very much for
Other
that.
than the fact that I forgot to read super chats every now and then, but that was because I was drunk as fuck. I'm not gonna drink like that next time. Don't worry, guys.
Did you read all the super chats at least?
I did read all the super chats. And guys, I will say this: don't look, guys. There were a couple guys who were saying super. I'm not gonna say who. There were some guys posting super chat saying, "Oh, what's up with Poster Tubbs? What's up with Luke? Trash talking other co-hosts." Look, I get it. Some of the guys here, they're panicking. They're not necessarily the most optimistic. Yeah. Do not spend your 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20 fucking bucks on shit talking other members of the stream.
Yeah, like if you have actual questions, send them. You know, those are what super chats are meant for. Questions, funny comments. But yeah, just don't try to like this or
don't peddle gay drama.
Yeah, I heard some of that. I'm not a big fan of that. But guys, don't worry, it was not as big a deal as some people think it is, but still it's just anyways.
Wait, this channel is no place for hate.
Oh gosh. All right, so we got some super before we get into the super chats, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course to join the channel today. All great ways to support the content. And if you want to support the channel even further, you of course can send super chats via the chat. I will read through as much chat as possible, but super chats are the best way to get your questions answered. And let me pull up the super chats. Where are we at on that? Here we go. Jared the American for 2. I don't get all the dooming on the I don't get all the dooming on the right. We'll get to that because, oh boy, I missed a lot of dooming. That's all I'm going to say. We'll get to that. And there's some legitimate concerns, but there's a difference between having some actual concerns than what was happening last night. But
David Crowley's this gigantic candidate who's going to beat Tom Tiffany by 5, bro.
Yeah. Nathaniel for 2. Late Han politics. Real. K-Cup for 5. Crowley, 1 because he's not Han. Also Crowley immediately ties himself to Han's policies. Also Milwaukee truly went reverse Burr last night. Oh, we'll get to the Milwaukee stuff in a second. You thought it just general elections they do the Milwaukee stuff, the center, the central count thing. No, it's primaries too, and we'll get to that. Ozark for
Yeah,
5. Oh, go on.
look, we haven't done the intro yet.
Yeah, we did.
Have we? Oh, we did?
Yeah,
Okay, never mind. I wasn't paying attention. Hey man,
yeah,
I'm still a little hungover.
it's fine.
I made
Um,
I made myself like half a dozen eggs and like a fucking pound of oatmeal with
Jesus.
sauteed apples.
Ozark for 5. My prediction for Wisconsin governor went for like the or Leanar. No way are Democrats favored after such a divisive primary. I think for the initial thing, I'm gonna say toss up, but again, we'll get to why I don't think it's as bad as some people think it is, but we'll get
It's
to that.
tilt. In the worst case, it's Tiltar. I don't think it's a true toss
I
up.
think it's toss up right now,
It's
but
this is
that's for
more
separate
favorable for the
reasons.
Republican than the Democrat, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we'll get to like why I think that in a second.
Especially with what happened with the primary. For those who are unaware, Crawley
Well, we'll
did
get to that.
exceptionally well in a bunch of Republican
Yeah,
areas.
we'll
We're
get to
going to
what
talk about
happened.
this at length
Um, M-
momentarily.
MD for 2. Progressives should be up in arms at the Wisconsin Democrats. Real and true, and there's some already up in arms about that, which is hilarious. So again, we'll get to all that in a second. American Nerd for 2. Miss you late last night rap. Tyrone did good though. Yeah, he did good. Nez for 5. Hot take, but dishing on Han wasn't a mistake. It's the same reason why Cenk promotes Tucker. The GOP publicizing her helped her get close. Thoughts? I think so. He did surge after the initial thing, but the Crowley ad saved him at the end. And that just proves you cannot run no ads and expect to win. But Nathaniel for 5. It is amazing how bad the polls have been in some of these races. The polls this year have been trash, I feel like. Oh, this might take the cake for the worst polling this cycle by far. That was bad. JB for 2. Still think Tiffany is favored. We'll get to that. Lord Rhino for 5. It's a good birthday to president to wake up and see the DSA candidate has lost instead of winning. Yeah. American Nerd for 2. The My Pillow guy is claiming the fraud in Minnesota. Yeah, we didn't even talk about Minnesota. That's gonna
Mike Lindell's political ambitions have been put to bed for good.
be he said the thing. Anyways, Chance Racing for 5. We dodge a huge bullet with the Republican primary in Minnesota governor. And don't doom it, Wisconsin, Patriots. Tiffany's still very strong and can win. Okay, that's all the super chats. Let's talk what happened last night. So David Crowley pulled off one of the biggest upsets in a long time. He won.
Especially for Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, now the polls were getting closer towards the end, but he was still down by like freaking 20 points. And he ended up winning by a half a point. This is one of the biggest upsets of the year. And that's a big deal because a lot of people assumed it was going to be Francisca Hahn, that it was going to be her. She had like a 95% chance of winning, which, by the way, the betting markets are useless. Last night proved it. The betting markets are utterly useless. They're reactive. They used to be more predictive in 24 when, only people that knew what they were doing betted on the political markets. Now everybody does. They just react to stuff. Like old other markets, they react. They don't predict shit. But that's a different story. So David Crowley won, but here's the first issue for Crowley that nobody's talking about. He didn't even crack 40%. This is a pretty big Tyrone. Why is this a big problem for him?
Me when I don't even win with 2/5 of the party's backing.
Yeah. This is the first
Summer,
problem.
We're calling Sexy Princess right. We're calling Sexy Princess Rider Summer from now on. She just said that's a pseudonym we can use. Summer posted some internal polling that she got, or that she, because you know who she works for.
Yeah.
About 20% of Hong voters do not plan to vote for David Crowley. That means that is about 8% of the total primary electorate that is not going to go vote in the general for David Crowley. That is a solid 20 to 30,000 voters right there.
Yeah. And these should be the most diehard Democrats. These should be the most diehard Democrats to vote blue no matter who. That's the first problem. He did not get, if he got over 50, that's one thing. He didn't even get 40. He got below 40%. So that's the first problem. And it was close. He only won by a half a point. It's not like Han got like 10% and she took second.
Didn't he win by 0.4? He didn't even win by half a point.
Yeah, he won by 0.47. He won by under 5,000 votes.
6-7.
Yeah. That's the first issue for Crowley that nobody's talking about. This was a very close race. This was very brutal. This was just a shit show and a half. There's a couple of reasons why Crowley won last night. let's start with the elephant in the room. Um,
The big red elephant, if you will,
yeah,
known as
this is
the Republican voter base turning out in the Democrat primary.
yeah. So this was something we've been talking about for a while now. Would Republican voters come over and vote in the Democrat primary? Now we don't know for sure. It's going to take a while to really dissect the precinct data and figure this out. But based on the initial results we're getting, which again, it's going to take a while to really dissect it, it's clear that David Crowley, there were a lot of crossover voters for Crowley. There were some for Hahn, which was expected actually, but I really believe this was the biggest reason he did so good. There were a bunch of crossover Republicans that did not vote in the GOP primary for a multitude of reasons. A, who gives a shit? The governor primary was
Tom Tiffany's
decided.
gonna carry it.
Yeah. It's like Tiffany already got the primary, and we'll get to the Will Martin stuff in a second. It's sad what happened, but guys, nobody gives a shit about lieutenant governor. I'm sorry, nobody cares. That's the first thing. That the top race on the Republican side was for lieutenant governor. The Democrat side, meanwhile, you had this shit show. But why? Why would they vote for Crowley? Here's my theory. You know those attack ads that the Republicans have been running against Hahn that gave her a boost in some very progressive areas? I think
Mhm.
it also encouraged a lot of Republicans in these same areas to vote for Crowley because they're thinking she's insane. They do not want to risk her becoming the governor of Wisconsin, even though it might lessen the chances of Republicans winning in November. They're just terrified of Hahn winning for the simple fact that she's crazy, she's delusional, saying a lot of crazy shit. That's my theory. That a lot of Republican voters, they panicked and they had no reason to vote in the GOP primary. And that is why, I mean, look at some of these counties. Like, look at,
I mean, if you just look at the turnout, it was a
yeah,
way higher than usual turnout. And Tiffany, he turnout was okay for the Republican candidate, but
considering it was, yeah,
but disproportionately, there was way more turnout for the Democrat. Every Democratic Party, everything suggests that the Republican Party had a lot of voters cross over and vote for either Hong or Crowley in the primary.
a couple good examples. Place like Dodge County, Jefferson County, these are very Republican areas. And Francisca Hahn was supposed to do pretty good in these areas. She didn't. She did oddly very good in Milwaukee. I mean, she nearly fucking. I don't know how the fuck she nearly won Milwaukee, but she almost did. So she did very good in Milwaukee, but these very red areas, she did unusually, or did Crowley did unusually well in some of these areas. Like Waukesha, he ran it up there. Ozaki plus 12, Washington plus 9, Racine plus 10. This is why he won. These Republican voters in this part of the state, they voted for Crowley. They panicked. They realized that she was about to be the nominee, and they voted for him at the end of the day. Now, we don't know for sure how many are like this. We won't know until we get all the precinct data, but I would assume that people are going to realize quickly, oh, yeah, there's a lot of Republicans that voted for her, or for him, I should say.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. I think Hahn did well in the very Democrat areas, no shit. But Crowley did unusually well to vote or with the Republican parts of state. Gee, I wonder what happened there. Man, Tyrone, why did he do so good in these Republican areas?
Me when I
Gee.
piss and shit and cry myself because a fucking Democratic Socialist Asian line cook might end up being my governor.
Yeah, that's the first thing. But that does not explain the whole story of what happened last night. The second thing is the ad discrepancy. The Democrats threw God knows how much money in the last 3 weeks of this race. They threw millions of dollars to boost Crowley. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at this race. And Hahn ran nothing on TV. Remember, her campaign said, we're not going to run any TV ads ever. How did that work out for her? Guys, this just proves that a lot of the average voters, they vote based on advertisements. Sorry to break it to some people, but a lot of these undecided voters, if all they're hearing is like Crowley's a good guy, Hahn's awful, how do you think they're going to break?
significantly for the Republican, or significantly for the moderate, or maybe and in the general, if the moderate loses, for the Republican.
Yeah. That's the reality of it, guys. They keep hearing how bad Han is, how good Crowley is. She has no response. It's the same thing with Mastriano. He got the Republican base, sure, but he got killed with undecideds because he had no TV ads. He didn't spend anything. So that's the first. That is the second problem here. The discrepancy between Han and Crowley on TV ads, I think, did a lot of damage for her. If she would have had even a tiny TV presence, like just in Madison, this right here is why she lost. I think she did not do good enough in Madison. This is the number one. Well, Republicans voting's one of them, but I really think her doing this poorly in Madison, that's why she underperformed. She did not even crack 45% of Dane. She did not do good in Madison at all. It was not good at all for her. But if she would have done better than, well, as good as expected, she wouldn't have even needed to win Milwaukee or do better in these other areas. Madison alone.
Tiffany is literally going to run down Democrats in a John Deere tractor, and you're black pilling.
Yeah.
Thank you, bum to bum.
Oh gosh. But yeah, that's the second reason. Third reason is we got to talk about Milwaukee. Um so Tyro, what happened in Milwaukee last night?
Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot that happened in Milwaukee last night. Some would say many things happened, and
There's Republicans in Dane County. No, I'm not saying Republicans in Madison caused this. That is interesting. Why did she do so bad in Madison? I don't know. But we're talking more about like Waukesha and stuff. We're not talking about Madison itself. We're talking about he did so good in like Waukesha and Washington. But I don't know why she did so bad in Madison. That is a good question. I don't know why. But yeah, let's talk about Milwaukee because
what? Huh?
You want proof that American elections suck? What happened in Milwaukee last night was a fucking disgrace. So basically, they had this shitty system where they have to have all the absentee ballots go to this central hub for the tabulation or whatever. And the morons accidentally forgot to upload the results. Conveniently. Funny how that works. And then they magically go back to get the vote results. And Tyrone, how did they break? Significantly for Crowley. Funny how that works. Now,
Crowley might have actually just cooked it, honestly.
Now, part of that is because those were some more favorable votes for Crowley. I get that. But guys, a lot of those votes were casted when Crowley was out of the race. That's a part nobody's talking about. He was out of the race like until 3 weeks ago. He was completely out of the race. There was a stretch there where a lot of people voted with him off the ballot. And with Mandela Barnes and Rodriguez still running. So, how did he do so good with those magical voters? I wonder why. But yeah, those are the three reasons he really won. It was Republicans.
I'm still a bit hungover. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Republicans crossing over to vote. The discrepancy in ads between Han and Crowley. And the third reason is I think the Milwaukee machine saved them yet again. I even said this. If it was a close race, Milwaukee was going to pull a stunt like that. And they did. They always do that. And you can't prove it because it's such a shit show. Nobody knows. But yeah, I think overall, this kind of like explains mostly. It doesn't explain why she did. I just, the Madison number is the one that is weird. She didn't even get 45% in Madison. Really? Or I should say Dane. But even Madison itself, she didn't really do good in. So that's one that people are to look at for a while to try to figure out why. Why did she do so bad there? And also, why did Crowley do so bad in Milwaukee, considering? It's weird. It's a very weird election, but anyways, some super chats to read. Where we at? Here it is. Good Lord. Maroon for 2. F's the chat for Will Martin. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. What happened there is sad, but people are just going overboard with it. K-Cup for 2. Crowley looking like Eddie Murphy in that picture. Oh yeah, it kind of does. American Nerd for 2. I doubt Crowley won given a divided primary. We'll get to that. Nathaniel for 5. I think Tiffany is still favored. Crowley didn't even crack 40% level in 50. It's also very divisive for the Dems. It was. America Noted for 2. It's be pretty close for Tom Tiffany. We'll see. America Noted for 2. I'm guessing Tiffany plus 4 to 5. I wouldn't go that far. Nathaniel for 5. Next question, is Han going to be an evil, bad, no good election denier? No, apparently she's already conceded. And we'll get
It's
to
like
what.
it's like she knows the machine cooks.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. She knows, like, oh, if she challenges this, it's going to expose what Democrats do in Milwaukee. And that's why she's like, yeah, I'm good. I'll pass on that. America Noted for 2. Thoughts on South Carolina primary? Not surprised. It was Darlene Graham and Norman.
I'm very glad Norman came through, honestly.
He has a chance to win the runoff.
Endorsed it. And yeah, most of the votes are just anti-Graham votes.
Yeah, so he has a serious chance of winning. K-Cup for 2. I know many people who voted Crowley to stop Han. Yeah, I think it's a real thing. I think there are a lot of voters here that they're not going to vote Crowley in the general. They're just so terrified that she was going to win the nomination and somehow win. They're like, no, we're not risking this. Cameron for 2. It was rigged. Hashtag stop Asian hates. Thank you. K-Cup for 2. Lots of Wisconsin boomers still look for ads on cable TV. Yeah. Real Gibraltar. Oh my God.
Gibraltar.
Yeah, Gibraltar for 2. Rich Bear's wrong again. We'll get to Bears in a second. Fucking piece of shit.
We'll get to Heroin Head in a little bit. Don't worry.
I was gonna say that, but random Polish guy for 5. Good to see you back, Rap. Tyron did such a great job last night, but now I'm worried about this race. I say pure toss up. I think it's toss up right now, but we'll get to what I think in a second. Really, 280 Bear for 2. Milwaukee gave us Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, that's true. Lord Heifrin for 5. What was the discrepancy for the polling average now that has been called? It feels significant that Michigan and Wisconsin went the ways they did. I have a theory for that. I have a interesting theory for what's going on in the polling. Kickoff for 2. Tom Tiffany was laughing his ass off for 6 hours. So, okay, we got through the super chats. Thank you so much for that. I want to talk with a general because the immediate reaction of people on Twitter was Crowley plus 5 or whatever.
Tony Evers, at the peak of his unpopularity in 2022, could not even crack 4 fucking points against Tim Michaels, who the party had already unified behind, and that was already in a blue wave. I'm sorry, this is not going to be a close race.
Well, no, that was right. 22 was a red fart, but
yeah, you know what I meant.
But yeah, it's Tony Evers was fairly popular in 22. And he still didn't win by more than 2 to 3 points. Wisconsin's one of those states that once in a while there are wave elections that impact Wisconsin, but most of the time, Wisconsin's one of those states that it doesn't really have a wave here.
Wisconsin tends to be localized more often than not.
Yeah. And that is the reality of it. That is reality of Wisconsin. That it's not really a state that's they usually has wave years. It happens once in a while. I'm not denying that, like 2018 to a certain extent. But even Tony Evers against Tim Michaels, who went through a fairly competitive primary in his own right, he still only won by like 3 points. So that's a first issue here. Secondly, are we just ignoring how brutal this primary was? David Crowley 5 minutes ago was out of the race and he won the primary. Is nobody going to mention that? How a lot of these voters, they were just anti-Han voters. They were just so terrified, like, oh my God, she's insane. He won because he destroyed her in the airwaves. Just demolished her. That is the reality of it. And David Crowley, yes, he is more sane than Han. No shit. He still is a progressive on most issues. He's not this moderate center left dumb. He is still pretty far left. Not crazy.
He's left wing. He's not look, he is as left wing as you could get before the DSA really became a thing. I'd say he was like he's 2018 left wing.
Yeah, and you think we're joking. In the Tiffany campaign, which, by the way, the funniest thing people were saying is like, guys, Republicans have nothing planned for Crowley. They've given up. Literally this morning, they already have an attack ad. Or not an attack ad, but they already found videos of David Crowley saying, we have to defund the police. Already, this is the pro-police Democrat, by the way. 5 years ago, he was saying, yeah, we got to defund the police. Or we got to look into it. Yeah, that's how he tried to spin it. We got to look into defunding the police.
Didn't he say would you reallocate their funding,
Divesting.
divesting their money? Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they're spinning it. Oh, we got to look into it. Yeah, I'm sure of it. He has some of the same radical policies as Han. He doesn't say crazy shit like she does, but guys, he has a track record. It's not really good. It's better than other Democrats, sure, but guys, like, yeah, I think the Tiffany campaign was caught off guard here, but you cannot tell me they didn't plan for Crowley just in case.
No,
Like,
they have. Tom Tiffany's a very careful man. One of my best friends, his representative is actually Tom Tiffany, so he was very, very happy.
yeah. But guys, he said a lot of crazy shit in the past. Again, not as crazy as Han. That's why I don't think it's be as, lopsided. But we're making it sound like he's this like Josh Shapiro type. He's not. Maybe for Democrat senators in Wisconsin, sure, but seriously. So yeah, Crowley has said a lot of crazy shit in the past. And the funny thing about all of this is, you know how everyone was saying, oh, there's no way they could connect Han to Crowley. Remember that?
Congratulations, they're now campaigning together.
Not just that. Let me just pull this up. You think we're exaggerating when we say this? Let me pull this up. Right here. So, Crowley said that he is going to run a tour with Francesca Hahn. They're going to campaign together as part of a unity tour. That's going to... I'm sure you cannot connect Hahn to Crowley here. I'm sure, Tyrone, do you think they could connect the two? You think so? Maybe?
I mean, they are campaigning. I don't know. So let's go through this like methodologically. I can't speak right now. I'm still hungover. I've
Yeah.
had like eggs and oatmeal for breakfast. We got David Crowley, who's already said some fairly left-wing shit, and now you have him touring with Francesca Hong, who we already know just there is a plethora of shit on. This I'm not gonna say I would be disappointed, but I would be moderately disappointed if the Tiffany campaign does not take this opportunity to just completely hammer it in that, yeah, Crowley is just as insane as Hong and they're friends now.
Yeah. This right here is why I think this is going to be not this Democrat. Like, could it possibly go Democrat? Yeah. I think it's a toss up right now. But
it's a toss up right now while Tom Tiffany has not had the time to define who David Crowley is, and he still has a bunch of time to tie him to Francesca Hong.
There's just so much working against him. This is not this thing where, everybody dropped out. He got 90% in the primary. No, he barely won. We're making it sound like he won in a landslide. He won by 4,000 votes, and 4,000 of those votes came from Milwaukee.
He won barely outside recount territory.
Yeah. It's crazy. President Gilbert Giddy up for 50. I'm jumping in and back out, but wanted to say this. Tyrone did a good job last night. He did good with hosting and did good managing the stream. The constructive criticism I'll give is make sure your mic is higher and read super chats more clearly. There's a super chat. Cake up for 5.
I'm gonna cut my cock off.
Oh gosh. Tiffany also tweeted the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Oh yeah. I mean, you think this is bad enough? Like they're already campaigning together. We have him on record saying that David Crowley is admitting that, yeah, my policies don't really differ from hers. That's what he said to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Man,
the only difference between David Crowley and Francesca Hong in terms of policy is not much. In terms of personality, one's a black man from an urban area, which is typical for the Midwest, and the other is a second generation Korean American immigrant who believed all this 2020 COVID era bullshit. David Crowley, I guarantee you, if you were to look in his mind during 2020, he would be thinking the exact same shit a lot of these black nationalist types were also thinking at the time.
Probably. But yeah, so you have him admitting he is the same on the policies, except like maybe data center is the only noteworthy one. And maybe he's not as crazy on like Thanksgiving or something. But
Thanksgiving is the white man's holiday,
yeah, but
brother.
outside of that, he still has a radical past. We're not dealing with some center left Josh Shapiro type. Or a
We're
Whitmer
still
type.
dealing with someone who's to the left of Hillary in
Yeah,
2016.
100%. But the sad thing is for Wisconsin Democrats, that's a moderate for you now. That's how bad it is. But anyways, the notorious Nathaniel for 10. Interesting primary night. Deal with the fallout of the 7th District County leadership understanding that they are out of touch with the base. Thoughts of Jay Schrader taking Secretary of State. We'll get to the Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State stuff in a second because I have some stuff to say about that. Josh for 5. Derek Crowley's campaign with someone who wants to cancel Thanksgiving. And also, what the hell was that Wisconsin sponge? Oh, gosh, that meltdown from that guy was nuts. But he does it every time as people lose. But yeah. Anyways, at the end of the day, I think right now it's a toss-up. I think this is not a safety race. It's not Lenar right now. I think it's just right now a toss-up. I want to see how the polls respond. I want to see, well, the polling really isn't. Actually, shit. We can't really use polling. Wait a minute. Polling's utterly useless now.
We can't use polling because they're dog shit and they don't work and they've had I mean, let's see. Who are the big misses we've had? Cornyn, Hong, El Sayed, who else? Who else? Who else is a major miss that we saw?
Oh my gosh. They overstated Bill Cassidy quite a bit.
Oh yeah, Bill Cassidy quite a
Georgia.
bit.
Remember the Georgia polls were garbage.
Oh yeah, Georgia was fucking dog shit. Polls are not doing hot.
They're not doing good right now.
They're underestimating. Underestimating. Fuck. They are underestimating minorities and rural voters. They are oversampling and being overconfident off of highly sensitive to response white liberals in urban areas.
Yeah, that's what's happening here. That would explain what happened last night. You look at the results, and if you just look at these white, quote unquote, educated voters in these urban areas, yeah, it probably was Han plus 20. But guess what? They're missing all these voters in downtown Milwaukee, like the north side of Milwaukee. There's a lot of black voters there. They're missing a lot of these rural voters that are more moderate. They're less crazy.
I said this when we started the stream last night. Wisconsin is nowhere near as urban as people think it is.
It's not.
Milwaukee?
There's Milwaukee and Madison.
The WoW counties account for a total of 10% of the state's population. Madison is like what, 10%, 8%, something like that?
Yeah, I gotta do the math again, but guys, even like Waukesha and like Washington, the biggest misnomer about like these counties is, yeah, they're more urban than say freaking like Grant County or Lafayette. But guys, these areas are still just small towns. We're talking about a state that has a lot of small towns. It's a very rural state. You have Milwaukee, and that's it. And its suburbs are not traditional suburbs outside like Franklin and all that. But
Austin, which is like, depending on how you look, fifth or sixth largest city in the state of Texas, has more than double the population of the WoW counties combined. Wisconsin is nowhere near as populated or as urban as people think it is.
yeah, because like even like, for example, like Green Bay, that is not an urban area. That's just it's a slightly bigger town. That's Green Bay. Oshkosh, same thing. These areas are not like these gigantic urban cores that have 800,000 people. They don't. These areas are small. These are at best small cities outside of Milwaukee. Even that's Milwaukee.
Marquette, that's the other one that had a massive polling miss. They said Hong plus 20.
Jeez. Yeah. That's the reality of it. Like these areas, they're overstating these voters in Madison and Milwaukee and Waukesha and Kenosha. They're missing the rest of the state. I've been saying this for freaking 5 years now. They miss these voters. That's why Crowley overperformed. He did so good in the rest of the state. There are some areas he did bad in, but some of these areas he just ran it up in. A lot of these Republican areas he did good in. Wow, it's as if these pollsters are missing these voters.
They're missing the overwhelmingly rural voters in Wisconsin. They're missing a lot of the minority. And when I say minority, I mean, let's be real. They're missing a lot of black
They're missing
voters
black
in the
voters.
urban and suburban area. They miss rural voters which are incredibly Republican, actually fairly inelastic as of late, comparative to like Obama era stuff. They are missing a lot of black voters in these urban and rural areas because there's a lot of rural black folks in Wisconsin. A lot of people don't really know that.
Well, yeah, because
Um,
to be fair, it's kind of misleading because, like, yeah, Wisconsin one it's just a giant rural state. So yeah, there's some, but it's not as much as you would think it would be, but still, it's more than
it's a significant enough amount to affect the polling by 1 or 2 points. Is my point.
yeah.
And Wisconsin is an incredibly hard state to poll because of how sensitive they are to this kind of stuff. So when you go in and you have all of these polls that are basically only almost exclusively sampling urban white liberals who are going to respond no matter what. You're not targeting, you're not interviewing, you're not polling these rural white voters, especially rural white boomers who you can only really reach out to them via their email or their fucking landline phone because most of them out live in the middle of fucking nowhere and they don't even have data half the fucking time. You can't reach out to them. The black
You're not
voters have
wrong.
no real interest in fucking proactively reaching out. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, Wisconsin's a hard state to poll,
Yeah, it
but
is.
even with all of this, all of these pollsters, like, this was an unacceptable error in terms of how severe the
You
polling
know,
was.
this is a bigger miss than the Biden plus 17 poll. I just realized that. Remember Biden plus 17 in 2020, a week before election day? Biden's going to win Wisconsin by 17 points. I remember that. That poll did better than Wisconsin polling this year. What does that tell you? So
It tells me that people need to stop polling Wisconsin with their fucking current metrics. We need to send Callahan and Trafalgar in to try and fucking figure out what the hell's going
the
on.
biggest problem with Wisconsin, like you said, a lot of these areas, you literally cannot reach them. You cannot reach some of these areas. Yeah, they don't make up a large share of the population. But guys, okay, 5% of the vote you can't reach. That's still 5% of the voters that you cannot reach. Do the math on that.
And you're also talking about, because Summer shared this last night with us. Again, I said earlier in the stream, a significant amount of people who voted for Hong are just not gonna, like,
They're
even
not
if
there.
only half, yeah, they're not there. They're not gonna show up to vote for David Crowley. David Crowley arguably won because of the Milwaukee machine striking again and a lot of Republicans showing up to vote in the Democrat primary. There is in no world where, as time goes on, David Crowley becomes favored. I think in a worst case, this is a true toss up. And that is simply due to the fact that Wisconsin tends to lean more Democrat than not in their statewide elections. But as time goes on, as Tiffany continues to spend his money, as Tiffany continues to dominate the race, Tiffany has the more centralized voter base. He has the more the money's around him. All eyes are on Wisconsin now with Tom Tiffany because this race is not going to be this race has. I'd go as far as to say this race has not been Democrat versus Republican. This has been what Democrat is going to have, which Democrat is going to shit the bed the least against Tom Tiffany in the polls. And this is really only going to become more and more true as we continue to move on to the primary. This is only going to continue to become more of a true thing as we see more shit come out about Crowley. His ties to Hong become more emphasized. And again, the summer slump starts fading away, and people really begin to realize, oh, Democrats ain't got what they need.
Yeah. K Cup for 5. And this is another point. I grew up in a rural city of 4,500 people that is pure blue collar. These towns and communities are fucking everywhere. Green Bay has roughly 100,000 people. Yeah, Green Bay has 100,000 people. That's it. And it's surrounded by small towns. Like, guys, that is why pulling Wisconsin's garbage. Just like these other states like Iowa. You cannot pull, well, Iowa's a little bit different, but Wisconsin, you can't pull. You just simply cannot pull it. Because these areas, you cannot reach them. And you know who keeps answering these damn polls? It's the voters in Madison every time. Madison makes up a third of the vote. No, they don't. That's the issue with the polling.
If
And
Madison made up a third of the vote, Wisconsin would be voting like fucking Virginia.
yeah. And this is why that the polling is just right now you cannot trust the polling, especially with the summer bias being a fucking joke. It's getting crazier by the day. But here's the thing: if we're gonna really play this game with the polling, this does not help Democrats whatsoever. Because in the general election, what's what's the main Republican voter?
That's a great question. You tell me, especially because you're from Wisconsin.
The average blue collar rural voter. And of course, Waukesha and other places, but guys, these voters, they are the core Republican vote, and they're being dramatically understated in these Democrat primary polling. What do you think's gonna happen to the general with these same voters when they lean more to the right? Or
They're either just gonna sit it out or they're gonna vote for Tom Tiffany. These
Yeah.
people are not sticking around for David Crowley.
Yeah. We can talk about if they vote or not. That's a separate story than them voting. But another good example, this is somebody in North Carolina, Patriot said this. Yeah, we're seeing these inelastic Southern whites swinging 45 points to the left in some polling. There is no universe that whites in fucking Mississippi are swinging. Even 1 point Democrat would be crazy. Do you really think Southern whites are swinging this Democrat?
No.
That's the issue here. It's a little bit different, of course, but you get the point. You get the point that these polls are just garbage. There's something fundamentally wrong. It's getting worse. I thought after 24, things would get better with the polling. How does it get worse? How?
Because we continue to oversample liberal whites. That's why.
Yeah. I just think a lot of Republican voters, yeah, they may not vote. I just think right now they're not interested in taking polls. That's part of it too. If that's true, then we lose Mississippi and Alabama. Well, yeah, now you got polls showing Arkansas R+1. It's fucking stupid. It's fake. It's old garbage. Obviously, Southern whites are not the same as white voters in Wisconsin. I get that. There are a lot of Democrat white voters. I get that. But guys, you get the point. They are just missing these core voters. Even in Democrat primaries, they're missing these more moderate white voters in rural areas. If they're missing these voters, which should be, more friendly to Democrats, do you think they're not missing them for the GOP? I think they are.
Absolutely missing them for the Republican Party.
Yeah. Okay. No rap. The Southern whites are becoming socialists. Trust me, bro. So true. So true. Josh for 2. Do you see what Tiffany tweeted about Christmas? No, I didn't. What is he cooking now? Oh my god. No way.
What did he say?
So everyone knows the alt account for Crowley, that
Yeah.
dirt account. There was a tweet of him saying he hates Christmas dinners.
Christ, we keep the Democrat Party keeps nominating the biggest fucking freaks on earth. They just hate us. That's literally it.
Oh my gosh. I hate Christmas dinners. Obviously, this is not going to swing the election, but guys, like we said, Hahn and Crowley are not as far different as you would. And this was back in 2010. This is 15 years ago.
Remember what I just said like half an hour ago with where I'm fucking yeah, go see. Like, I guarantee you, he agrees with a lot of this shit. And he's just been less open about it. Yeah, exactly. See,
I know. Listen, obviously, this won't change the election. I know, guys, it's a 15-year-old tweet, but guys, Seriously. Oh my gosh. He said, like, if he said 15 years ago, again, this doesn't, I'm not saying this changes anything, but like, it's just kind of funny to think you go from Han, who says a lot of bad shit about Thanksgiving, to Crowley, who says bad stuff about Thanksgiving. I'm not saying it's exactly like Thon or Han, but
He said stuff about Quidman. He's thinking bad about Quidman.
yeah, that's David Crowley's alt, by the way. That's alt account, which has a lot of goodies for the GOP to use. But and by the way, the Tiffany campaign. Look at this. They have a video of this might have been a form for the governor primary, and they asked him, "Do you support giving driver licenses to illegal aliens?" Crowley raises his hand. "Do you support giving taxpayer-funded college tuition to illegal aliens?" Crowley raises his hand. "Do you think law enforcement should be banned about asking about immigration status?" David Crowley raises his hand. Again, he's not as crazy. I keep saying this. He's not as crazy as Han. Nobody's saying that.
He's still pretty crazy though.
Yeah. Let's see. To be honest, not even that bad. I know, guys. I'm just joking. I was kind of being sarcastic with the Christmas thing, but it just, guys, like, of all the things, after we made a big deal about Thanksgiving, now we're on to Christmas. But yeah, like the Tiffany campaign, they already have stuff on Crowley. They are already using stuff against them. He just believes the same shit, but he's not bipolar. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being bipolar.
Oh gosh. They definitely have a lot of Crowley already. You know, this isn't a thing again, they weren't expecting him to be the nominee. But if you really think they didn't have stuff planned, no. Nathaniel for 5. Democrats in Maine and Wisconsin. How can we be best our? Oh, good lord. How can we best out stupid each other? Everyone else, crickets. Yeah. K Cup for 5. Tiffany is a stronger platform. Evers and Han are tied to Crowley. Han is Han, but the property tax, education, and healthcare shit is tied to Evers. Yeah. That property tax is gonna kill him, I think. You hear about that, Tyrone? The property tax thing in Wisconsin?
No, I did not.
This I think is gonna be a big deal, and people are getting pissed off about it. So, a couple years ago, in Wisconsin, we have a very powerful line item veto. You know what that is?
I do not. Enlighten me.
Basically, like the governor can veto parts of a bill. Basically, I don't mind vote or whatever. Like it's one of the two, but basically, they can veto parts of the bill. And in most states, it's not very powerful. But in Wisconsin, it's one of those things where you could essentially change the meaning of the bill. And he did a thing where he raised property taxes for like 150 years straight. I'm not even joking.
What the fuck?
That's a real thing.
What the fuck?
Look it up. Look up Tony Evers property tax. He did a line item veto, or I think it's item line. I forgot the name of it exactly, but he vetoed part of the bill, spliced it up so it would increase property taxes for 150 years. I gotta pull this up.
They just want to give us free healthcare, guys.
Yeah.
The party of free healthcare, everybody.
Yeah. Governor Evers uses partial veto power to change numbers in a state budget bill, allowing school districts to increase revenue limit spending authority by $325 per student annually through the year 24-25. It's actually 400 years.
400-year Evers tax Reich.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, Luke, you're right. Yeah, 400 years. Excuse me. Yeah, line item. Excuse me. Yeah. So basically, every year, your property taxes can go up every time. It doesn't matter how many times it's gone up before. According to Evers's budget, they could keep jacking up the property tax on you. That's a real thing. Like, it is hitting a lot of people hard right now. And Tiffany's running against it for good reason. So, American Noted for 2. Was there any major down ballot primary in Wisconsin? Yeah, Republican side. I want to talk about this. And I want to be clear about one thing. Okay. I am not particularly happy with results. I supported Will Martin for lieutenant governor and some other people. But guys, the meltdown from certain people about this primary, which sucks, it does absolutely suck that Will Martin, who's a good guy, he lost. But Tyrone, let's be honest here. Does the
No, let's be.
average swing voter care about the lieutenant governor race when deciding
No.
the governorship?
No. Dude, I
Well,
didn't even know y'all had lieutenant governor
Yeah, we
races
do.
until like this year.
Let's be, and they're on the same ticket, and you don't even vote separately. Only the primary you vote separately, which is dumb. But basically,
That's good.
yeah, it's dumb how they do in Wisconsin. But basically, guys, it sucks because yeah, I'm not denying that Will Martin would have been better for the ticket for geographic reasons. I get that. But guys, the average voter does not give a shit about the lieutenant governor said something about abortion. I'm just being honest with everybody.
You know what the average voter does care about? Getting property taxes for
Yeah.
400 years straight.
Yeah. Like, yes, I'm not denying that this could hurt him because geographically, Will Martin made way more sense. He's from Milwaukee. I get that. But that does not mean Tiffany's dead on arrival. But you know, this is another issue I have. What? How can you like? How to explain this? How do I say this?
I don't know. Tell me. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, why do you think Will Martin lost? He was endorsed by the state GOP, by the way. So it was not like this no-name guy. He had the backing of the Wisconsin GOP. Yet he still lost. You know why?
Why?
A lot of
Why?
voters outside of Milwaukee, they did not know Will Martin existed. And I think Will Martin on the ballot was the second option. So a lot of average voters in some of these areas that never heard of the guy, they just picked the first option they saw.
Yeah, but we have to blame the voter because the average voter's stupid and we hate them or something like that. I don't know.
But and that's the whole issue, guys. You can say we gotta like listen. Again, it's frustrating the pro-life stuff in Wisconsin because for those that don't know, there's a lot of pro-life voters in Wisconsin that are literally just single issue types, and they will fuck over primaries because of pro-life issue. Which again, you know, I'm pro-life too. There's got to be some discussions on that, but either way, you get the point. But you cannot just seriously think this was because of pro-lifers that caused this. Why did the state GOP do more for Will Martin? Why? Why? Why didn't all these Republican households get literature that Will Martin and a few others were endorsed by the GOP? Why? You know, there are, you know, valid excuses. I get that. But at some point, you got to realize you just failed the communication. The messaging was not there. You just you lost. That is the core issue here. And I wish that people would realize that, hey, maybe we should try to communicate to voters better. Because, yeah, he did it good in Milwaukee, his home turf. Outside of that, a lot of voters, they just didn't know. They did not know who he was. They did not know he was endorsed by the state GOP. That's a failure of communication and messaging. That's the reality of that. Same thing for Secretary of State, or yeah, whatever it was. Jay Schrader, same thing. He was the first name on the ballot. A lot of people picked him. There are ways to fix this. Like, I don't know, communicate to voters better. You're telling me that you have a database, like you would, Tyrone, would you think the state GOP would have a database of like voters, addresses, emails, etc.?
I mean, yeah, that would make sense.
Just send them a message or a literature or something, just saying, hey, to like likely Republican households that Will Martin is backed by the state GOP or something. Anyways, American Noted for 2. How important is lieutenant governor in Wisconsin? It really doesn't do anything, honestly. But anyways, But yeah, again, like I hate that Will Martin lost, but there's just got to be a serious discussion about why. Why are people like Will Martin losing?
Because the people are not able to be reached out. It's the same fucking look. It's the re. The Wisconsin Republican Party would be dominating the state if they had an effective communication infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's literally it. If
Because
the Republican Party of Wisconsin could figure out how to reach all of these people out there, they would be winning. So
yeah,
they would be winning
and this is a good
indefinitely.
example. Like, you know where the state Republican candidates did best in?
Where
Milwaukee, Waukesha, these areas that they have the most communication with. They have the infrastructure. You lose these primaries because you get your asses kicked in the rest of the state. You get your ass kicked in like Grant County. Will Martin lost Grant. This right here is why he lost. Grant County lost by 60. Lafayette, 30. Iowa, 30. This is why he lost. He got killed in the rest of the state. This is like a communication. This is messaging right here. Yes, you do good in Milwaukee, and that's it. Okay, you just can't win because of Milwaukee and Waukesha. Sorry. Anyways, America Nerd for 2. Oh shit, Miss Super Chat actually. Cake up for 5. My realtor said housing costs are coming down, but it can't keep up with the rising property tax. Legit Evers is destabilized the Wisconsin housing market. I've heard that. Yeah, it's fucking insane. 400 years of property tax increases? Really?
they just hate you.
Yeah. It's the only way to put it. Overlord for 10. Considering Crowley managed to squeak by, does this push a race back into toss-up, or does it still lean R/D? I could see leaning R due to nearly a 50-50 rift that occurred between Crowley and Hahn. I'm in the camp of toss-up, but I could see the argument for Tyrone for lean R. I see the case for that. I just think right now, we got to see the impact of this primary, because in how Crowley campaigns is going to be very interesting. If he goes through with the Hahn route, are you fucking serious? Did you not learn your lesson from Hahn? You cannot run as a nutcase. You can't win a primary as a type of candidate. Chance is raising for 2. Can we talk about Minnesota next? Yes, we will. The notorious Nathaniel for 5. From the 7th District. Excuse me, hold on. For the 7th District, I don't remember seeing any events with Will Martin being around where Varnum was there, even for just small county fairs. And that right there is why you lose elections in Wisconsin. You cannot ignore the rest of the state. You cannot just bank on one part of the state carrying you. You just can't. And all it takes is these random candidates to campaign in these random areas like Grant or whatever, and they get 80% of the vote because nobody else showed up. There's got to be a change in the Wisconsin GOP. They've gotten better this year, but it still demonstrates that they're fucking suck at communicating. Nobody knows who they're backing, except if you're really into politics. And again, the average voter isn't. The average voter doesn't give a shit about lieutenant governor or secretary of state. They care about governor, senate, and like their congressman and president. That's it. And by the way, Tyrone, how do you guys do it in Texas, where you get your voters out for good people?
Well, I mean, John Cornyn's gone. Dan Crenshaw's
Yeah.
gone. A bunch of really bad people are gone. Ken Paxton is going up. Very excited about that.
Hell,
We got our shit together.
Minnesota did something really good last night. So Minnesota last night had a very competitive primary for governor and senate, and Mike Lindell got his ass kicked by 11 points. He got killed, and he's not conceding. He's saying that they stole the election. Of course he's saying that. But yeah, Mike Lindell got his ass kicked. And it's not just because they ran up in Minneapolis. That's part of it. Lindell didn't really do that good in places like Duluth. He won it by 4. Carleton. This is why he lost. These rural areas, yeah, they broke from in some parts, but it's not this overwhelming landslide. Man, it's as if you try to contact voters, it's as if you try to reach out to people like the Muth did. You could actually win elections.
DeMuth, finally, thank you. We're gonna get a lean plus. We're gonna get a lean D instead of a safety race for governor for once in Minneapolis in Minnesota.
Well, they're going to get Klobuchar, so that's good luck on that. But, anyways,
Allow me to rephrase. I'm not moving from my chair.
gosh, yeah. But overall, guys, last night demonstrated that the GOP, they have a lot of issues. They have a lot of issues with messaging and communication. Just the outreach is fucking terrible. You got to actually talk to voters. Don't just like bank on Milwaukee or something and call it a day. No, actually reach out to these people in the rest of the state if you want to win. Because a lot of people, they don't care. Yes, again, the pro-life stuff, fine. You to a certain extent you could talk about that, but it's not everything. Not everything's a pro-life voters voting against you. But and I'm not necessarily attacking anybody. I'm not saying like anything bad about people, but I'm just saying like maybe there's just gotta be a change of strategy. Maybe a little bit, maybe a change of philosophy. But anyways, we lose by 8 instead of 28. Yeah, it's real. Lindell had it fucking stolen by the corrupt MAGA fascists. Oh my gosh. Well, he deserved it. After he said the stuff about amnesty, it's like, really? Like, that's your base Republican? Anyways. But yeah, I think overall last night, a very bizarre election. Wisconsin, the Democrat primary, the fallout of it's gonna be intense, I think. We won't know until probably the middle of August or the later half of August. We'll get a better gauge of what's happening in Wisconsin. It just this primary was such a shit show that we keep harping on it, but I don't see how this is a good thing. Like, okay, he won. Yeah, they got a better candidate, but like we keep saying, Crowley is not this juggernaut that people say he is. He just got through a very competitive primary, barely won. And that's with having all the airtime. This is going to be a big difference. Crowley's going to get outspent in the November election. He outspent her literally infinity to 1. Not even that. Like, he outspent him by infinite amount. And he still barely won. Nathaniel for 2. Mike Lindell, but fraud. Yeah. American Donor for 10. Also, did Trump didn't re-endorse Lindell when he was re-endorsing candidates in Minnesota? No, he did. But Lindell got his ass kicked with Trump's endorsement.
Which I might remind people is a good thing considering how crazy Mike Lindell is in some of his positions, like supporting amnesty.
All right. The notorious Nathaniel for 20. One of the biggest problems I see as a small town active political member, I cannot afford to go to these things like state convention, after district caucuses, and the like. Our county is lucky to get 3 people to attend, and that's a problem. That is the issue with Wisconsin GOP. Stuff like that. A lot of these people in northern half of the state, they can't show up to this shit. Like, they don't show up to anything because it's just too expensive or it's just inconvenient. There's got to be a way to solve that.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure you'd be going to more stuff in southern Wisconsin if you could afford it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Anyways, even in Milwaukee, he almost lost the county executive election. To be fair, that was against a nutcase, like an actual like DSA type. Like he nearly lost that. So, but anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. This is kind of
wait.
What?
I will be hosting more streams going forward, guys.
Oh yeah. But yeah, this was kind of just a quicker stream to go over my thoughts and everything. Just a very weird night. Very, very bizarre. But okay.